Well, over the weekend, President Trump made a bunch of other picks for his cabinet. Those include Scott Bessent for Secretary of the Treasury. So Bessent has sort of an interesting past. He obviously is an investor. He was a protege of George Soros, and he gave money to Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, and Barack Obama. He also was a strong advocate for gay rights and marriage equality, according to the New York Times. So he's certainly not a man of the right. However, he has worked substantially with Wall Street. He is going to work to steer tax cuts through Congress, and he has sort of a heterodox view with regard to trade. As the Wall Street Journal points out, as a hedge fund manager, first at Soros' firm and later at his own, Bessent specialized in macro investing or analyzing geopolitical situations and economic data to wager on big picture market moves. He generated billions of dollars in profits betting on and against currencies, interest rates, stocks, and other asset classes around the world. He was motivated to step out from behind the desk and get involved with Trump, in part because of a view that time is running out for the United States economy to grow its way out of excessive budget deficits and indebtedness. He says, in his first interview following this election with the Wall Street Journal, that his policy priority will be to deliver on Trump's various tax cut pledges. He also said that he's going to be focused on enacting tariffs and cutting spending, as will be maintaining the status of the dollar as the world's reserve currency. So it's sort of, again, a sort of heterodox viewpoint. Bessent taught economic history at Yale University, so obviously his credentials are very strong. His association with George Soros sounds less political than investment involved. Soros, of course, is one of the most, in his sort of prime era, before he became the world's most notorious evil leftist who was funding every bad cause he could think of. George Soros was mostly known for being an extraordinarily aggressive currency trader who made a lot of money in the markets. From 2011 to 2015, Bessent was Soros' chief investment officer. He earned more than $1 billion in profits for successful bets in Japan, including wagering against the Chinese yen. So again, he is looking pretty seriously at tariffs. He is pursuing a policy he calls 3-3-3 that would include cutting the budget deficit to 3% of GDP by 2028, spurring GDP growth of 3% through deregulation, and producing an additional 3 million barrels of oil or its equivalent every single day. And he says that he thinks of tariffs as a negotiating tool. He says that, quote, the tariff gun will always be loaded and on the table, but rarely discharged. And he says that maybe you use them as a source of tax revenue if that means lowering taxes. So again, that is a much more cohesive economic agenda. You know, President Trump's talk about tariffs overall has been in glowing terms. I've been saying for months that when President Trump talks about tariffs, he sees tariffs as leverage. If you look at his history, this is what he has used tariffs for. He is not going to slap a 20% tariff on everything across the board because that creates inflation. And Trump, most of all, does not want to be an inflation president. What he will do is he will threaten to use tariffs in productive ways that force other nations to back down, which, again, is not a bad policy. This is a massive tool in the American arsenal. We are, in fact, the world's most productive market. Steve Moore, who is certainly no big state interventionist with regard to the economy, he's praised the pick of Scott Bessent.
I've got a big smile on my face because I think this is an excellent pick. I've known Scott now for about 10 years. We've worked together. He's a supply sider, David. You'll appreciate that in the meld of a Larry Kudlow and Art Laffer and Steve Forbes. This is a huge job. This is one of the, other than Secretary of State, I'd say this is probably the most important cabinet position.
Yes. Okay, so again, it is a solid pick. It is all about the economic growth. That is the number one priority, is the economic growth at this point, and that's what Trump is all about. All Trump wants in life is to be a successful economic president and a successful foreign policy president, which is, of course, exactly what we should want. By the way, his approval ratings for his transition thus far, 60%. Those are very, very high approval ratings for President Trump, and if his team does what they are supposed to do, President Trump could be one of the most transformative presidents of our lifetime, probably the most transformative presidents of our lifetime, if he is able to do all of the things that he is attempting to do at this point. Well, people like Scott Bessent may sleep on a bed made of money, but did you know that you spend a third of your life sleeping? That's around 25 years of your life in bed. With numbers like that, your mattress isn't just furniture, it's an investment in your well-being. That's where Helix Sleep comes in. I never thought a mattress could make such a difference until I tried Helix. What sets them apart? Well, unlike those one-size-fits-all brands, Helix offers 20 different mattress options because they understand everybody's sleep needs are unique. It all starts with their sleep quiz, a game changer for finding your perfect match. When I mentioned my struggle with lower back pain on softer mattresses, they recommended their medium firm option. The result? I've never slept better. Looking for that cloud-like feeling? Try their Luxe. You want the ultimate sleep experience? Go for the Elite. Need extra support? The Helix Plus has you covered. And forget those awkward mattress store visits. Helix delivers right to your door. Helix is so confident in their product, they give you 100 nights to try it out. That's over 3 months to test your mattress in the real world. Plus, every mattress comes with a 10 to 15-year warranty. So if you'd like to sleep as soundly as I do, head on over to helixsleep.com/Ben. Take that sleep quiz. Plus, Helix is offering up to 25% off site-wide and 2 free Dream Pillows with any mattress purchase. Even better, Helix is offering a free bedding bundle. That's 2 Dream Pillows, a sheet set, a mattress protector with any Luxe or Elite mattress order. That's right. Just go to helixsleep.com/Ben. That's helixsleep.com/Ben. With Helix, better sleep starts right now. Again, helixsleep.com/Ben. Other good picks over the weekend. President Trump picked Sebastian Gorka as a deputy assistant to the president. Of course, Gorka is a very hawkish figure, particularly with regard to radical Islam. According to the Washington Post, he was tapped to serve as deputy assistant to the president and senior director for counter-terrorism. He had been an advisor on national security matters for Trump for 7 months in the last administration. This doesn't require Senate confirmation. So he is going to be focusing on militant groups and immigration, according to the Washington Post. Trump complimented Gorka's qualifications. He said, quote, he has been a tireless advocate for the America First agenda and the MAGA movement. So again, this is a solid pick. Gorka is incredibly, as we say, harsh with regard to radical Islam, which is going to be a necessity in a time when radical Islam is on the uptick, thanks to the predations of Iran. In an interview last year, he watched some of the videos of October 7th. He said, kill every single one of them, referring to Hamas. God bless Israel. God bless Judeo-Christian civilization. Obviously, I'm a fan of that particular perspective when it comes to the war on terrorism, which does continue. It's not a war on terrorism. It's a war on radical Islam, which is something that Gorka totally understands. There's one more good pick that I think is worth noting. So, as you will know from listening to our show, President Trump has now picked Marty Makary, who's an excellent pick. Marty Makary is a professor at Johns Hopkins University. He was sort of our go-to guy during the COVID pandemic. We had him on nearly every week during the COVID pandemic, explaining the ins and outs of COVID policy. Did masks do anything? The answer was pretty much no. Should vaccines be mandatory? The answer was no. Was COVID going to kill 2 million people in the United States if left unchecked? The answer was no. These sorts of realities are things that Makary did an excellent job picking apart. So he was a lockdown skeptic. He was a vaccine mandate skeptic. And now he's been picked to head the Food and Drug Administration, which is a very solid pick. Again, Makary is a personal friend. He's a friend of the show. And he's going to do an excellent job over at FDA. President Trump said in a statement late on Friday, quote, FDA has lost the trust of Americans and has lost sight of its primary goal as regulator. He will work under the leadership of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to, among other things, properly evaluate harmful chemicals poisoning our nation's food supply and drugs and biologics being given to our nation's youth so they can finally address the childhood chronic disease epidemic. But it's not just that Makary is going to be a critic of the way the FDA was run before. So, for example, he criticized the agency and the way that they reviewed data leading up to the approval of Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine and some of the claims that were being made by the FDA, including the claim that this thing would cut down on transmission of COVID, which turned out not to be true. And he also was pointing out, Professor Makary, Dr. Makary, he kept pointing out throughout the COVID pandemic that their recommendations that everyone take the vaccine, including for children, were ridiculous. He is not just going to be about shutting down the distribution of material in the United States. He's going to be about streamlining the process at the FDA to make sure that new treatments actually get into the system faster. One of the big problems in terms of investment in R&D is that the FDA's system is extremely haphazard. It takes for freaking ever for people to get a drug to market. And that means that people die in the meantime. In 2021, he said, I'm pro-vaccine, but the issue of the appropriate clinical indication of the COVID vaccine is not an all or nothing phenomenon, as we frequently see in American culture and politics. So again, Makary is an excellent pick right here, and he's going to do an excellent job at the FDA. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.